Welcome to episode 76 of A Master's Degree in Rolling Terribly. I'm your host, Detty. Joining me this week, a man just needs to roll up his sleeves, take a hit once in a while, instead of constantly asking me to take off my pants and taunt his enemies with my giant tanking skills. Gaz! Say hi, Gaz.
Hi, Gaz. I just want you to have the opportunity to be free.
Yeah, well,
I think they made a movie about that, didn't they?
The joke kind of is the boots that I have are the ones that, some item that when someone else is targeted by an attack and they're adjacent to you, you can tap them to take the hit instead. So we keep forgetting about my boots, and because they look like shin guards almost, they go right up the thigh. They're my pants, really.
And they're your leg slots, so they're the pants slot.
So Gaz is always checking if my pants are up or not.
Well, let's back up a little bit. I think because there was several instances in a row where you're like, I can take my pants off, right? Like, and that was all that you said for people when they were getting hit really hard. And so we then had to inquire why you taking your pants off was of a benefit. And you explained that means you get hit. So now when I'm about to get hit, I try to remember, and you're like, whoa. I'm not just some dude that takes my pants off all the time.
Yeah, but it's worse when I've already done it to take a hit for you, and then I don't know, a round or two later, Mark's like, "Hey, are your pants up?" I'm like, "No, they're down at the moment. I can't help you. Like, I got a long rest to pull them back up again."
Yeah.
On today's episode, we'll be covering scenario 118, Lurker Necromancy, which is from the Bone Shaper retirement, something that to fulfill an eventual tier list of retirement. What do I try to say? How good a retirement or a returning character is, which we'll eventually probably have a tier list and a discussion around once we've seen them all.
Like how we value the reward that we got, right?
Pretty much.
Like, because I think the storyline for most of them have been somewhere between fine and interesting. But as we discussed, I think a few episodes ago where we went through what we had, the reward or the value of the reward they've provided has ranged from garbage to like mediocre.
It seems to be a recurring thing, but also like from a discussion point of view, like we keep bringing it up, but that's because new retirements kick in and we get more added to the list, which then lets us weigh it up and balance it to the previous ones and see whether or not we're going into a more positive and exciting direction.
I mean, the bar's so low that one of them's going to come through and just be like, hey, here's this thing that's interesting. Like, here's a prosperity, and we'll be like, wow, instant top. Like, just straight to the top.
S tier. So yes, we'll be having a little chat about, I guess, that scenario and the Bone Shaper coming back and how it stacks up with, because we've actually got two more returnings later on also in our outpost phase. So yeah, we can have that covered again. And if we have time, which I'm sure we will, Kelega's quiz. So Kelega sent us a quiz probably about 2 weeks ago, and I was just been trying to find time to actually do it. And today seems like
this is a both of us quiz, isn't it? Because the answers are blanked out, so you can kind of, you can get involved.
Yes. It's very exciting. I'm very, very much looking forward to that. So stick around if you wanted to hear that. So, scenario 118. All right. We had a road event. This was Summer Road Event 41.
Nah, I'm just like, no idea.
Blanking out.
I've been pretty good with like the last few, I think.
Yeah, you have. That you definitely have. If I was to mention Mark's character, if I was to mention Mark's race, does that help?
Yeah, I think so. I think I remember something about this. It was like weird, mindy things, like mind waves.
Mind Snipper?
Oh yeah, no, but like they were doing the clicky telepathic kind of communication.
That little crabby thing.
Yeah.
So we're walking along the coast ultimately, and we found a lurker, and he was doing some weird dance, and then he gave us stabbing pain in the head and all that kind of stuff, and we just had to make a choice whether or not we wanted to attempt to communicate him, or we could knock the little lurker out to stop the pain that was being administered to us. And we was like, hey, that guy's a lurker.
Yeah,
that seems like a no-brainer. And we kind of locked
Oh,
in.
don't say that about Mark.
What do you mean? No brainer?
No, being no brain, having no brain.
Oh, well, how big are crabs' brains in comparison to, I don't know, an
oh,
octopus, which is apparently one of the smartest animals as
Yeah,
well.
octopuses are like all brain, apparently.
Yeah.
Brains and legs, that's just what they got.
Yeah.
No inefficient other bits.
I mean, crabs have legs as well, like heaps,
Many, yeah.
but they don't use them.
No, they just teleport around, apparently.
Right. So we had to make a choice, and we made a choice to communicate because we had a lurker, and that resulted in a new scenario, which is really cool. We've got a new scenario 131. Add that to the list of available scenarios if you think that's one that we should do. It's called the Dancing Iceberg, which sounds kind of cool.
It sounds kind of cool and kind of shit, right? Like the dancing, it's almost like a prefix and a suffix. They were just like had a random generator and they had landed on Dancing Iceberg, right? Like,
Yeah.
So this road event was interesting, and I know we had a bit of a chat. I think me and Mark particularly kind of were a bit like, oh, I don't know. Are you going to go into the? Is that it?
That's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reward for this one, and I don't know how deep we want to go because we did look at the because it was if you have a lurker, right? Because we said we want to try to communicate with the little crab.
Yeah. So option A was like lurker. If you have a lurker, read this bit and you unlock the scenario. If you didn't, you attempt to communicate with it, but you can't seem to get through. And, the feeling drains you. So all characters start the next scenario discarding one card, then read option B.
Yeah. So this is where it was interesting. And I think like I can see what they're trying to do in regards to going like, here's your choices. And depending on if you've got the right characters or keywords and stuff like that, you kind of avoid negative effects, which I think is cool. Like it's a benefit for having the right people there.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things we talked about like really early on in the pod is you should be able to try to work out whether you've got the right keywords or characters, which we did, where we successfully identified. I was like, well, hey, maybe we could do this option because we have a crab, right? So that's like kind of rewarding that problem solving. The issue is when you find out the alternative, like if you say, okay, cool, I want to punch him, or hey, I want to try to communicate, but I don't have a crab, you still get the same reward, you just get the negative.
Yep.
Which kind of, it makes it feel like I feel like in something like this, there should be, I don't know, like a third option, or the other option should to be avoid going down that, and then maybe it goes back in the pile. So like instead
that would feel shit in a way though, because if you found out that you may not see this event again. I see what you're trying to say. It's the fact that they want to tie unlocking some random side scenarios to these events. So if they don't offer it on both responses, you don't unlock that scenario, which is going to be ultimately it feels bad as well.
That's 100% true. I think the problem with the way that it's presented here is that there's no agency because it doesn't matter. It's all random chance, right? Like you either have a lurker or you don't. Okay, so it's like this event comes up and the outcome will be 100% you unlock the next scenario or that secret scenario. The random factor is whether you have the right party makeup to avoid taking damage. Which again, that's not a choice, right? That's not a use X, Y, and Z. So I just feel like I get what you're saying, and it is. If they want to make you unlock scenarios through events, then you kind of don't want to have to miss it and go back through, unless it's a random side scenario. In which case, there's lots of opportunities for those.
True.
But yeah, it's just it'd be cool. And I'm sure there are examples of this in other events. So we're really fascinating to go through all the events once we're done. Like, just really have a read of all of them and see how they all balance out. But yeah, something where like your choices make a difference to how you want to go about it. So your problem solving ability in that, do we do this or do we not do that, will determine whether you have the right things. And I guess it kind of is, because it's, do you want to communicate with it? And if you do have the crab, then you don't take the negative, or you can just punch the dude out. I don't know. Maybe it needs to be more of a negative if you try to communicate it and don't have the keywords.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, if you attempt to do something that you don't have the skill set for, you're going to be doubly punished because you didn't try to figure it out. I don't know. There's something like that.
Yeah. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit by putting scenarios, unlocking scenarios into an event deck, into the event deck system that Gloomhaven and Frosthaven have. If there's an option A and option B and you're locking an event behind it, you're going to run into this situation right now where, like you said, with keywords and having that negative in there, it's either, I don't know how you do it properly to make it feel better, I guess.
I think maybe a reward and scenario versus just a penalty and scenario could be like just skewing it that way. I think that's the thing. There seemed to be, anyway, I think that's enough on that. But yeah, I like it, and I like the way they did it, and it was cool that we worked out, hey, we got a crab, we can do crab stuff. Yeah. It just didn't feel good. It felt like we just avoided a negative because we had a crab, not we chose well and got some kind of benefit. So
yeah. I'm going to sort of use this opportunity to also continue the spoiler-filled chat bit that we're doing right now and mention that, well, let's talk a little bit about my trial randomly. Any guesses on what it is? Because you know I finished it.
Just do random shit and wait an amount of time. Like, I don't know, like complain that you can't complete your trial for an amount of weeks.
Our listeners who have gone through the trial deck and at least are familiar with the top 4 because they're the first ones we get, know that I haven't actually completed my trial. They know what it is, right? The only people that didn't are obviously you guys. And to this day, right now, you still don't know because I told you I finished it on the session and I said I will wait till Friday to tell you. So that is why.
He threw the card down and said, I did my trial, which has been 6 weeks in like the making, and he's like, and I'll tell you when we record. And Mark was pretty insistent of like, no, you tell me now. He's like, no. He's like, oh, but I won't, because he won't find out until we release the episode.
So my trial, and this is more for Gaz than everyone else, it's called Trial of Manipulation. Convince the party to make event card choices according to the following agenda: A, B, B, A. So ABBA, basically, right? When the party makes a choice that matches the leftmost unchecked box, check the box. You have passed this trial when all boxes are checked. So this is all I saw. And then you guys obviously had very, very different ones, which is why I was like, well, I don't really have to remember mine. It doesn't really mess up my gameplay. Wow, what have you guys got? Because mine seems really straightforward, right? So this is where it becomes important. So the very first event we had since we drew the trials, do you know what event we had? We had a road event, right? That was that poem. And it was kind of like, is it it rattled off a bunch of stuff like a riddle. And it was like option A or option B. And I was like, well, according to my trial, I need option A. So we're going to guess option A because at least I can mark that off. And then dickhead Mark over here goes option C because yes.
That was the first one.
Correct. And I was just like, this is awkward. Okay, cool. I guess we'll do the option C.
You couldn't even argue with that, right? You couldn't be like, look, guys, I don't usually speak up, but I'd really like to do option A here.
Yeah, because we've been waiting for like a year for his bloody thing to come back. And it happened to come back that day. So I was like, this is real convenient. Then we go back to Frosthaven and we had the first event. It was an outpost event where the Vermlings attacked us. All right. So they attacked us and they were like, option A is you hand over all your food, or option B, we do a siege. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to convince everyone to give up all of our food? I can't do that. I can't do that at all. No one's going to go with that, but I also don't want that. Is it worth the trial? I've got time to do this. We will not be giving them all of our food. Okay? So this kind of keeps happening. So for starters, the outpost phase became completely irrelevant for me because after that, right, we had to deal with the Vermlings and we had that siege. And then what happens at the end of the section event of the siege? It says, do not resolve an outpost event this week. So it did that twice to me. So I was like, I really need outpost events right now. Not getting any. This is really awkward. So you can see why it was taking me so long. Now, the most recent one we had last week was the book. So we took the book back, right, from the road event, which I did score on my thing. And we would go back and that put a section event. So the option was pick this option and then put a section event that'll happen when we go back. We go back, we deal with the librarian. She says, do you want fire or do you want ice or whatever? We pick that one. It's like, cool. All of their fire element will be strong next week. Don't resolve an outpost event this week. And I'm like, are you fucking serious right now? It just kept happening. So I think the road event afterwards, I had to rely on road events. So Titan, where push the person in or push the shackles in and go in as well. I immediately was like, no, let's just go in ourselves so we don't have to worry about shackles. That was basically, I wanted to obviously do the shackles one, with the pain conduit, but I didn't want to not do my trial. So I started, you see what's going on. So it was basically road events that I had to do it in. So it took me like 4 weeks worth of road events to get this instead of the 2 weeks that it might take from just alternating between road and outpost, road and outpost. So that was my trial. It nowhere near was as exciting as it, you know, some of the others have been. And I constantly was getting booked by the Frosthaven outpost.
So is the trial just calling out road events and outpost events, or just
when the party to make event card choices?
Event card choices. Yeah. Okay. So it doesn't count for section events. Yeah, interesting. I think that's really fascinating. And I guess it's from your perspective of doing it, as you said, it's not interesting because you're not actively doing something and drawing cards, for example, to see new trials, and you don't have to balance or juggle anything. But from a trying to get it done perspective, I think that's one of the most interesting out of all of the ones we've seen so far, right? It's definitely one of the, and I would have loved to see you hard try to convince us to give up all our food, because that's one that I would have hard gone in for. I would have been like, look guys, these fights are stupid. Maybe we give them all their food and we'll get a reward because we'll ally with them or something like that and convince everybody. And I'm pretty sure no one would have cared enough to fight us on it. So it would have been like, fine, whatever.
That one I couldn't pull the trigger, but other ones I was waiting for. I've now seen the road event. I obviously look at my trial and go, which option do I want? And then it's usually you actually, because that's what I've been noting the last couple of weeks. You turn to me and go, maybe option B? And I'm like, sounds good. Sounds really good. No problems. I didn't actually once have to convince anyone because it just happened to line up perfectly with whichever one I was up to. So that part was fine. But I was very interested in if it got to a point where I had to convince you guys no the other way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like that would be cool, but it would be so hard to police and remember if there was an element of you need to pick A, for example, in an event where there is someone within the group who wants to do a different option. So that would almost force you to try to include everyone. Some of them come up and someone says let's just do A, and everyone else is like, oh, I don't care, right? Or it might be like, hey, cool, well, what does everyone think? What do you think, Phil? What do you think, Mark, etc. And just get someone to be like, because if everyone says A, you're not really manipulating, right? You're just going with consensus. So it'd be another interesting level to put on that one, although that makes it even harder because you could just get ones where everyone's just like, let's just do this. So I can see why that wouldn't be good, but as an idea of how to balance it, it would be cool to add that extra kind of caveat.
When I read the trial, when I first got it, I was like, this is going to be so easy because of our indecisiveness when it comes to nearly every event. We just sit there and I'll be like, hey, this will be the first time I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to start just saying, hey, we're going to do A. And everyone will be like, yeah, sure, whatever. So that I was like, I'll be done with this ASAP.
Yeah.
But not if it doesn't give me an event.
Any point in the last 12 months, you would have had free range to just do whatever you want and complete this in 2 weeks. So no, that's interesting. And that is one that could go on a really long time if you were in a weird position of events. Because as you said, the secret one we had with Mark, the book one, you weren't going to push against. You can't, there's some that you can't, right? Especially if we know. If you've been like, no, we should totally read the book. And we've been like, oh, I don't know, mate. The last time we did this, we didn't do that. And we got the thing we wanted. We got to do that. If you're like, no, I really think we should read the book. We're like, I really think that you need to, almost, I don't know. I feel like there would have been some we would have just almost not overruled you, but we probably would have voted against you, which would have been weird.
Last week I would have, if you didn't want to return the book and you wanted to open it, I would have then worked on trying to convince us to take it back. And I reckon I would have gotten away with it. Just
because you needed A.
Correct. I needed B.
Oh,
A. No, I needed A. I needed A. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So, okay, then that makes sense. But, cool.
Sorry, I needed B because that was previous week. This week was A. I finished it this week because we used, thank God it lined up that try to communicate with the lurker. So it worked out. That was my final A.
If we had been in that situation and said okay, cool. So, hey, communicate. We've got a lurker. We should totally do A. And you needed a B to finish a trial. Would you have tried to convince us to punch the crap?
Because I also want to see the best outcome for events, and that's the part that's conflicting. So if we came across one and it was like, hey, you found a awesome BFG 9000, it is missing a core, or you could just walk away, right? And I needed to walk away. I would never do that because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I also want to see what comes from this. This sounds like a really cool thing, and that'll be the conflicting part. Is, do you choose trial over what the whole your adventure ultimately? I don't think it's above it, and obviously I have time to complete this.
Yeah. Well, the other interesting scenario would be when we've come across the repeatable ones, like, you find the pool and we know that, I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't done it, but we know one of the options is bad and one of them is good. We know the answer to that one because we've done it twice. If you pull that out and be like, I think we should totally do this one, and be like, dude, like we just cop a bunch of damage if we do that. We get a blesses if we go here, and you'd be like, no, I really feel like we should go into this. Like that would be funny. So just to continue the trial talk really quickly, have you got any idea what mine is?
No, but I don't think I saw you do anything weird.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, not that I can think of. I know Mark, we'll talk about Mark's a little bit later, but he was doing weird stuff, and then I was actively during the scenario trying to work out his.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll carry on. So previously on Frosthaven, the Bone Shepherd did return a long time ago. This is how we got this scenario, and it surprised us one day. Amazing writing, Dwarf. They've been seeking energy from the new planes of existence, and found a strange energy much closer to home, emanating from somewhere near Frosthaven. So this was 118, Local Necromancy. This was cool because it was designed by Vlada Shivatel and written by Shannon Campbell. Vlada is a very prolific board game designer who has a smaller library than I thought, right, when it comes to game design. One of the games that you have played a lot, he designed, and I didn't mention it when I read it last time. You play it on your mobile, or used to.
What's the Through the Ages?
Yeah, he designed Through the Ages.
Oh wow! I played like 100 games of that, if not over 100 games of that on mobile.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so that, and I remember like years ago when that was like number 2 or number 3 on BGG Top 100. I mean, it's dropped to 17, which is still phenomenal for a game that's as old as it is. And he has brought out an expansion for it lately. But yeah,
fun fact: I've never played that game.
Board game.
On the actual board game. And I don't think I'd want to because of all the finicky messing around with the system is really cool, but and I don't want to go into too much of a tangent here, but the system is really cool and I love the game, but I loved it from an automation perspective where it made sure that you couldn't do the wrong thing, and it calculated a few, I can't remember the exact terms because it was forever ago I played it. But yeah, I feel like playing the actual game would get really fiddly.
Yeah.
Because on the mobile and the web app version that we were using, you could do an undo turn because you'd do a bunch of things and then you'd go submit turn and then it would put all that in. So you could do an undo turn, so you could actually like work out to be at the right places and stuff like that rather than having to do that in your head. And I feel like in the board game version you wouldn't do that, which would probably just change how you play it. But yeah, that's crazy that he designed that game.
He did. So he designed that Mage Knight. Sorry. Code names, which is global.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah, design code names, which is interesting because as a game designer, he's got some fairly complex games with Through the Ages, which is, and Mage Knight as well, which is a fairly complex adventuring deck builder. So, like a lot of people play on their solo. It's considered to be, or at least it was considered to be, one of the greatest solo games that you could play. Even though it can play up to 4, no one really wanted to. They wanted to play it on their own. And then things like Galaxy Trucker, Dungeon Pets, and Space Alert. So, yeah.
Space Alert as well.
Space Alert, yeah.
Wow. Like, that's some pretty... Like, for a small kind of a catalog of games, there's some pretty, like, big games in there. And they're all almost kind of peripheral games. Like, they're not ones that come to people's minds when they think top games ever. But, like, I haven't played Space Alert, but I've heard about it a lot. Okay, and I think especially when it was new, it was pretty, like... groundbreaking for what it was doing in that kind of space. But then even code names, like Through the Ages to code names, like that's like I make really complex games. By the way, I can also make really good like casual make party games.
The biggest party game in the world, basically. Yeah. All right, done. What? You want a Marvel spin-off? Sure, here you go. Here's a Simpsons one. That's how big it is.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So the other thing is we did this scenario Phil-less this week. So we had 3 people. Phil was...
that was our challenge card.
Yeah, do a scenario without Phil. So we had to go in with 3. So our scenario goal, 118. The scenario is complete when all enemies in it are dead. and all numbered tokens have been looted. Keyword numbered. Numbered tokens have been looted. At the end of that round, read a thing. Scenario effect, there isn't any. Monster combinations, we had Frozen Corpse, Living Bones, which is cool to see the Undead Brigade come back. And then we had Lurker Minesnipper and Lurker Soldier, which altogether is a very interesting mixture. And something I took note from that is I'm pretty sure 3 of the 4 are melee, which I like. And something that's very, very rare that we've seen anyway lately. Our first room setup, we have a very small bended corridor. We've got, I think because there's 3 of us, I think we had two and 1.
2 Yetis and 2 skeletons.
Oh, 2 and 2, yes. Okay.
Or was it 2 and 1?
I can't remember.
I think it was 2 and 1. Yeah,
it was 2 and
Yetis
1.
One skeleton.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, you're right. You're right.
Yep. And then the special rules for it are you've got numbered and lettered tokens. So when you're populating a room, so when you reveal a room, including the starting room, the living corpses and frozen corpses, the standees have numbers on them, which is what you use to track, initiative and which one you're targeting and health and all that kind of stuff. If they're an odd standee, an even standee, you put a numbered token on it, and that represents an amulet of reanimation. And if they're an odd standee, you put a lettered token on there, and that represents an amulet of protection. I think this Bone Shaper's wanting to get these amulets, and there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on here. So basically, when you kill these monsters, they drop their respective amulets on the ground. And if the next time that they're activated, so if the numbered one, the amulet of reanimation, if something drops that, when the Living Bones character monster activation thing comes up in the next round, it'll actually spawn a Living Bones on the spot, and that Living Bones will then put the necklace on. And it's essentially like a timer. You have to loot these tokens before they activate to then bring back the Living Bones, which, I mean, we're doing this at +2 difficulty again, so they're level 6. Like, we need to actually pick up these things before they reanimate, ultimately. And then the letter tokens, which are on the odd numbered ones, the Amulet of Protection, these just give the mobs that carry that +3 shield, which is incredibly shit when they already have some shield built into their character. So, for example, normal Frozen Corpse, right, at level 6 have 2 shield, and 17 health. So they're running around with 17 health and 5 shield if they're an odd standee, which is a lot. Which is just
what's
ridiculous.
Hilarious is that last week we were complaining about
the 5
priests having 5 shield, even though I think they were supposed to only have 4 shield, because we worked out there was, and we found 5 shield incredibly hard to get through, and they only had 9 health. So we talked about you could kind of put a wound on them, do a little bit of pure damage, and then you can push maybe 1 damage through here and there, and then they're dead. But normal Frozen Corpses on 6 had 16 health, 21 health, something like that.
Yeah,
like it was like, oh, they are like, that's, you can't push damage like that much through. It was really trying to find ways of just finding ways around it, and we still don't have a lot of pierce.
We don't, and to make matters worse, we're going into this scenario without a blink blade as well. So it was like, when it came to building our decks for it, I think it was like immediately, Gaz, build for damage, just go nuts because we're going to need it. I know I'm not going to be doing that. I've got melee heaven thing happening right now, so want to play with some retaliate and some tankiness, and obviously the infusion that puts a lot of curses in their deck, which I will get onto that a little bit later.
And that's actually one of the things. I don't know if we tracked it on the DPS meter, because I know Phil used to track it on my crab whenever I did retaliate damage, or you could tell because it was always 2s.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think Mark, because Mark did the DPS tracking, I don't think he tracked your retaliate damage, but I would hazard that a good chunk of the damage you did across the scenario was from retaliate, but probably a good chunk of the overall damage we did to everything was probably through retaliate. So that's actually became one of the most effective ways and reliable ways of doing damage to these things with 5 shield.
Yeah.
And that's not even to forget that the normal, the elite ones, even without the token, have 2 shield anyway.
Yes.
Right, and retaliate. And the Living Bones have a shield as well. So, again, without reliable pierce, it's like even the 1 shield is going to make a difference every time we attack them. So
100%.
And we know the kelp does lots of little attacks. So
lots of little attacks.
Yeah.
Challenge cards. we have Glittering Distraction. Whenever there are 3 or more revealed loot tokens on the map at the end of any round, all characters gain impair. We drew 3 cards, and it was kind of like, which one do we go with? We're still trying to complete probably a more condensed version of the challenge deck right now, because we've obviously got X amount of scenarios to finish, which, could be another 2 months worth. We don't know. And this one kind of worked out really well because they don't, living corpses and frozen corpses, that's part of the special rules. They don't actually drop loot tokens. So it wasn't really something we had to worry about. It's only bad if we desperately needed to farm a bunch of loot, which, you kind of do, especially now that our pantry has been emptied. Pets, we had Dang, the Spinning Drake, because we have yet to use him. All ranged attacks add poison, and then Wart the Lightning Eel, which allows you to take 2 damage to recover from your discard any level 1 card, including X. Our party this week is me on the level 8 Astral, Gaz on his Shards, which I think is still 6. I'm not sure if you've dinged yet or if you did towards the end. Mark on his level 8 Kelp, and no Phil, so no Blink Blade. I went with, tanky, carded cards and all that kind of stuff. Section event, when the door is open, we read a thing. So what's the strategy, Gaz?
I think the main thing we were looking at was just killing making sure we could loot the reanimation tokens.
That was such an important part because of the timing. It was like, even when something's on 1 health or 2 health, it's like, cool, I can neck it now. Wait, can someone get this?
Yeah.
And that was probably the key part of some of the tension and it led to a hairy situation towards the end. Just trying to get that timing down. Because it is part of you have to kill everything and loot the amulets, the even ones. So they have to be picked up. If you don't pick them up and you let them go and you spawn another skelly, especially with the amount of, the new ones with that respawn won't have the odd standee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they still have 1 shield, and I think normal still had 11 health, which is because we were lower on damage because we were missing a Blink Blade and also just with 3 people. I think we just had to be a lot more conscious of being efficient with what we were doing, and because we were spending so many cards to get through 5 shields, right, or taking a lot of damage from hitting the frozen corpses that had 2 shields and 3 retaliate, something like that.
3 on the elite,
yeah, that was building up, right? That was hard to do because we don't have a lot of really big chunks of damage.
No, Mark does a whole bunch of little stabby ones into a retaliate 3 frozen corpse.
Yeah,
sucks.
So I think that meant that we really didn't want to have to fight any extra living bones, and that was our strategy. So it was interesting in the first room to just kind of play around a bit.
And this first room was an absolute slog. It was just it was a slog in that it was kind of like everything kind of bunched up, and then it was just withstanding. It felt very tank and spank, which for some reason I liked, as in it was a refreshing change of pace a little bit, of having frozen corpses we've nearly binned. I'm almost certain they might be in there. They might be at the front of the bin though. They're better than earth spirits and all that kind of stuff. But they were actually fun for a change, where it just seemed like with the shield, with the retaliate 3, and they don't hit like wet noodles. Trying to chew through these health with our lineup was fairly tricky and just took us a while.
Yeah, 100%. I think we made that comment early on in that first room, in that, when they start hitting for 5s and 6s and they have so much health, even ignoring the extra 3 shield that they got if they end up with the Amulet protection, they did become a bit of a threat. They were a hard to burn down kind of monster that if we left them around too long, they did have the ability to draw some big cards, which I just don't think we've seen before. And I'm not sure if because of the lower difficulty meter they've got less shield and less retaliate and less health, so therefore they move slowly. They don't always attack. That's one of the things. I think they do like an immobilize and a brittle type thing, which I'm sure you're going to go through some kind of spotlight later on. But it becomes, when they're low life, we'll just kill them in 3 hits and that's fine, right? And if they're only alive for 2 or 3 turns and one of those turns they don't attack, you're just kind of like, whatever, it doesn't matter. I feel like the biggest problem we've ever had with frozen corpses was in one of the really early scenarios where we needed to go kill the altar, and then they immobilized all of us before we had a turn. We're like, oh, wait, hang on, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And that was just a timing thing, but yeah.
Well, The other thing is, at the end of last week, the previous week, we did the section event that led to fire being up all the time because of our choice, which turned into a really cool thing because these frozen corpses have a ability card that just says when they move, if it fires up, I think they add +2 to movement or something like that. Or they definitely take 2 damage.
Yep.
And yeah, provided they do the move ability, and that was super handy because this whole scenario fires strong, and that helps absolutely none of us at all. But the alternative also helps absolutely none of us, despite the fact that we have dark synergy, wind synergy, earth synergy, not light. Oh no, you use light. That would have been handy.
Oh, light would have been, I could have used light like once a
the two options were like hot garbage.
I know. But like, you're right, especially in a scenario where we were, again, talking about getting through lots of shields. We were actually in a space where I think a couple of turns we moved so that they had to move, right? Because they don't trigger it if they don't move at all.
Yeah.
So there was like times where like, if we move there, they're not going to trigger their 2 damage. And this thing has 5 shields. There's probably more damage that we're going to do to it from attacking it. So we almost want to reposition to use that effect, which again is cool. Like it's more important to be playing around the scenario kind of mechanics. And I know the flame one isn't a mechanic of the scenario, but it's just that added piece into there. So yeah, it was a cool little extra kind of thing to consider. Yeah.
So we took a while. We opened the door eventually. And the next room's nice big V room, and we got 2 Lurker soldiers. Now, I have a little bit of PTSD from the one of the scenario with the Lurker boss, and I think one of them, not the end one. It was one of the previous ones where
the one that Bill deleted in 3 rounds.
Yeah, and I ran off to get a chest, and the Lurker soldiers absolutely munched me, and I was like, oh, these guys actually are kind of scary. So now we're playing them at level 6, and like I was a bit hesitant about that. But we also had 2 living bones. In the room, and what actually happened was Mark teleported towards the back of the room to deal with the soldiers, but because he was invisible, they kept sort of slowly heading to us while he started picking them off. And Gaz and I had this amazing duel with 2 living bones, one of which stood in the doorway, and the other stood just behind him. And then Gaz and I are, next to each other, next to them. Gaz is sort of separating himself so he doesn't get cleaved, but we have to be mindful of them moving. And for some reason, we were there for a good 6 rounds, maybe more, fighting these 2 things, because Gaz kept missing on his thing again. He's got a card that just guarantees a miss, which he's now learning to strengthen for it, which is fantastic now that he's starting to land those. The Skellies have 2 cards that heal, right? They've got a 12 heal and a 20 heal. And the 20 heal comes with a hit as well. They're both the reset cards, right? So when they're in the doorway, and you've got one of them who's got like 4 shield because of the letter token, and they're healing themselves. This was horrendous. We just could not break through. And we would do like chip damage, and then they would heal it up a little bit. Like we were definitely ahead, but by like 2 health. And it was such a attrition based. And just quickly on that, about 2 rounds into the scenario, after I'd moved 3 hexes, like over 2 turns, I forgot to pick a battle goal. So I was like, oh crap, I've got to pick my battle goal. And one of them was Slowpoke. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't know if I can do, I don't know how big this map is, but I haven't broken it yet. So I'll pick Slowpoke, which is the one where you can only move 2 hexes. And once I saw this room, I was like, oh, this is going to take a while. But if I start moving, I can do 2 steps, attack, 2 steps, attack. No, this guy's blocking the door, and I had no way of moving him or jumping over him, which added to how long we were there. We were still fighting. I think by the time we cleared them, it was round 13. I remember looking at it and going, what the actual hell? Go.
Oh, well, and the thing was like you're right, he kept drawing his heal, but you're retaliating. So at least if he was picking the heal and attack, he was going to hit you and at least chip some of that damage away. But he kept just drawing the just heal myself and shields. So like, or whatever the early one is. And so I think there was turns in which I was like able to do enough damage to break even with his healing. So his life would go down, then back up. But then there were turns where it just kept going up.
Yeah. Because the basic infusion passive that is 1 retaliate range 2. So it's just 1. That's consistent. It's permanent. But I have another card that is a retaliate plus 1 retaliate for every 2 infusions you have, every pair. So that's the one I'm trying to plan around and go, well, if I use that, I might be able to get to 3 or even 4, provided I've got the right infusions out. But playing that is so risky just because of the law of retaliation and us playing them. Because these guys, you know, do I play them or are they just going to stand there and heal and not hit me, which is the worst feeling in the world. So Mark eventually killed both soldiers and he had to come back and basically just, I mean, we worked them down. We loosened the jar. We got them to like 2 health and then Mark opened the jar and, you know, was acting like, oh, was it that hard? And it's like, oh, okay. You know, bit of a jerk. The other thing also was one of the infusions was, and Mark as well, we were absolutely wrecking them in terms of curses. So we had filled the monster deck with curses, 10 curse limit, and Mark kept pulling his AMD that was allowing him to put another one in. I had to keep telling him we can't because there's just no more to put in there. Despite the fact that we had been attacked that many times. Skeletons also multi-attack, and soldiers as well, not that we had them in range of us. But they are attacking so often you would think that we would see curses, and it took us forever to see our first.
Yeah. Well, I think at one stage there was 21 cards left in the monster AMD. 10 of those were curses, and 1 of them was the natural miss. And we still had to wait until we had a whole bunch of muddled enemies and to kind of draw through before we saw a chunk of them. Like, it was crazy. Like,
that was
it just
shocking
didn't
RNG.
exist. Yeah. And what was even funnier with the skeleton and these curses and all this kind of stuff going on in that point is that skeletons never once drew their attack 1 target with all attacks.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I really wanted that. Oh my god. Yeah,
like you got all this shield and this retaliate. We're like, that's fine. Just hit him because he's gonna. Yeah, it's just so. It's like the really good, a really bad RNG that made the scenario more challenging. So it's funny.
Yes,
like
it is.
You have to laugh.
Have to. So we eventually do clear it, and Mark teleports through the V and opens the next door. Right, and it's a big room. We have 3 corpses, 2 living bones, 2 mine snippers, which we're still waiting to see the power of mine snippers. But Mark goes deep into the room. He's got invis. He's not too worried. And I have been subtly telling everyone I can only move so fast. So I'm sort of moving 2 hexes at a time through the room. And I'm like, this is great. Mark's invisible. The room's going to pour out and come to us. And that's fine. Gaz kind of snuck ahead a little bit because he wanted to check things out. And it was funny because it was like a zombie movie. They all just came pouring out of the room. And I think the mine snippers had a range of 5 or something. And it was kind of like, Gaz, can you come back?
Yeah, I was like, walked around the corner like, nope, I don't want to go that way.
Mark started picking them off from behind or planning to, except they all vacated the room at one stage. So it was kind of awkward for him as they were coming towards us. I had some good retaliate turns in there. I took my pants for people when they needed it. There was a scary moment where I think we booked one of the skeletons in the center of everything, or one of the living corpses, which then dropped an amulet of reanimation that then we had to desperately loot, and the only one that could actually get to it was Mark, but he wasn't going to have an invisible arm. And that was probably the biggest tense moment because he was going to get hit by everything. Luckily, you guys have ways of muddling. I think you have a way of muddling things within range 5. That, and when all the curses finally came out, and we're talking like hitting with disadvantage, we draw the first card curse, second card curse. Like the amount of times that was happening, we started to really flood through the curses in the AMT, but it totally came in handy at that exact moment. And no one actually died or exhausted or anything like that. So the curses did eventually pay off. And then, it was just a grind down. Yeah. So that and looting all the tokens, and hey, we finished the scenario. It wasn't too bad, but could have been easier if we'd just been luckier with AMD and the curses and then skeletons not healing for an eternity, but also could have been harder if, Mark got absolutely shredded in that last bit, and me too. Do you have any other comments on the actual gameplay?
Oh, the gameplay or the scenario?
The gameplay, and then we're about to launch into the scenario.
Oh, okay. No. I think that was from a key moments perspective. I think one of the things that kept happening, and again, it's just not the same thing on the skeleton heal, is that we kept having ways to apply wound to them, and then they kept healing, and it was just like, and like we would go before them.
Yeah.
at their like 20 or whatever the heal is at 20, and we'd go before them, and you'd be like, well, put wound on him, but now he's just going to heal it off. Like, it was just this cycle of like, we could never get any damage onto them that was consistent.
There was one time though where I think I made a comment to you about, hey, we may as well use the spinning drake, just because otherwise our ruling is if we don't use it, then it will be up for available random pulling in the future scenario or something like that. So it was like, we don't really have any range. You're the only one that does range, so you may as well use it, and you can only target one thing. So it's literally using the pet to just put poison on one thing. But at least it stops that healing thing, right?
Yeah, that's what we did, yeah.
So it was a good use of it. And what also came in handy as well when it came to just card economy. And it's always a good one. Just we do forget about the pets. So it was nice to actually use both of them and get something out of it. We finished it. We give the amulets back to the Bone Shaper. They kind of take it and thank us. And they're probably the next villain, because it's kind of like this, the amulets are evil or something. He's got to look after them, but he's got to destroy them or something. But I don't think he will, which is going to be very exciting. And we got an Amulet of Eternal Life as a scenario reward blueprint. This is what's cool, is that during the special rules, I kept trying to work out why we don't need to loot the leaded tokens. And when I was planning the show notes for this episode, I was like, yeah, are we right with that? Because it keeps talking about what happens with the number tokens that go down and they pop up. And this will, I guess, launch into what we thought about the scenario. But there was nothing about the letter tokens being important, and the scenario goal didn't mention anything about letter tokens. It kept saying numbered. So it was kind of like, has he messed up some kind of rule here, or has he overruled it in a way that didn't make any sense? And then when you get to the end of the scenario, it's like trade all numbered and letter tokens in for loot cards, because we weren't really actively looting. So that was a cool little twist. You know how we've got those scenarios where it's like, do we kill the guards? Do we not kill the guards? All that. We didn't have to loot these tokens, but we were doing it anyway because we were waiting for a special rule in a future room to then be like, oh, by the way, all letter tokens on the board that we may have left behind may do something bad. So by habit, we started looting them, remember?
Yeah, I think that was either potentially going to be bad, or maybe it's going to be good. Like, maybe it gets to the last room because they're amulets of protection. I was like, maybe we grab them because in the last room there might be some negative effect that comes out, that if you have an amulet protection that it doesn't affect you, or some kind of thing. That's right? Cool, like a mechanic. And then it was funny because that didn't happen. And then at the end, I was really kind of, again, I was just like, oh, I feel like the game's just screwed us here, and like a potential really cool thing. And we've looted all these things and then nothing. And then right at the end, you're like, and for every amulet, get a loot token. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine with this. Like, they actually realized the whole thing and they put it in there. And that's, I think, was a very good, a feel-good situation, because, again, we went out of our way to loot the letter tokens.
Because as the special rules, you could choose between a token or a loot, like the loot tokens traditionally. You can't, loot one doesn't loot everything, including these tokens. So yeah, actively doing it, yeah.
So, but yeah, it did. It felt like we got rewarded for almost like a sub-objective, like we've talked about this, or like a completionist of like looting all those extra things, not just leaving them on the ground when the scenario didn't tell us. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it, the scenario?
Yeah, I think so. Like, it was weird. Afterwards, I remember, like, it was a slog. Like, it really was a slog. Like, the whole scenario was just slowly moving through. I mean, because I was staying close to you and you were moving really slowly. But, like, moving slowly, trying to push damage through, like, 1, 2, or 5 shields, right? Like, you know, trying to balance all this stuff. There wasn't a lot of monsters on the map until that last room. And then, you know, kind of that was, like, that big thing. But it still felt like fun. Like, I don't know what it was. It was weird. Like, I came out of the session and I was like, that was a lot. I enjoyed the session. Now, not that I don't normally enjoy the sessions, but it was like, I remember going like that, nothing really interesting about that scenario. I do think they're interesting mechanics. I don't want to downplay that. I think that they are interesting mechanics, but for how it flowed, it was a lot of fun. And I don't know if that's just, we made it fun. If we had a lot of really annoying but funny moments, like, you know, you can get super tilted by something never like just constantly drawing healing and not be able to do any damage to it. But we didn't. We were like, oh my god, this is ridiculous, and it was funny in a way rather than getting really pissed off and frustrated. Which I think those are the decisions you can subconsciously make, right? That can impact the fun.
Yeah.
And so I think we just made all those. I mean, I say make those correct subconscious decisions to enjoy what was happening. And yeah, it was fun. Like I quite enjoyed it. Your thoughts? I've got some comments about the mechanics and stuff like that. But
yeah, no, overall, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it was anything special yet. I'm with you on this. I don't understand why I enjoyed it so much. The slog part of it, I think the +2 difficulty definitely helps. Like the challenge card was irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. So that didn't have any impact on it at all. But the +2 suddenly brought to life, funnily enough, the frozen corpses, right? And the living bones. It +2 just makes you look at mobs in a completely different way. And it's not going to all of a sudden elevate them to S tier, but I appreciate them a lot more. And I appreciated the back and forth that was happening. The chaos of the RNG, that could be in any scenario. So it really wasn't, tied to this one in particular, but it just paved out in a story in our experience in 118 as making it more enjoyable. Because of all the misses, because of all the curses and all not curses, and just, trying to slog fight it out. Now, if every scenario was going to feel like this moving forward, that's going to get tiring real quick. But for having one every now and then, which is exactly what we got here, it was perfect. It was fine.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed the tank and spank part of it.
And what's funny as well is that we've talked about the lack of fun that can be created when you control everything, right? Like if everything gets disarmed and everything. So I almost wonder if because we had this running gag of they just won't draw the 10 misses in their deck and they kept hitting us and they kept hitting us hard. We're like, all right, there's 10 in there. There's only 15 cards left. One of them's going to flip over. Ooh, +2. Yeah. This should be 0, but instead they've hit for 6 or something. So I almost wonder if we had a consistent average draw of curses through, if it just would have felt kind of really meh.
That's true.
And again, it's all just it's kind of trying to reflect on why, but maybe that kind of stuff made it more fun.
I 100% agree. I actually think that there's a world out there where we play this again and it's kind of crap. Other people will probably be like, yeah, it was fine, for that exact reason. But it's the individual stories and experiences that come out of every scenario that are going to change how people feel about them, which is why I'm always excited during an amDirt chats to be like, what was your favorite scenario? What was your most memorable thing that happened? Because people will pull a scenario that we hate out of their ass and be like, no, but this happened and it was amazing because of this. Like, Weedy on the boat one where they run over and he missed the iceberg thing with his trap, right? Like things like that, it's the stories and the experience. That's what makes this game so good. And coming together as a community and sharing these experiences, I think it just makes it so much better.
Oh, I think yeah, you're 100% right, because now we will look at skeletons, at least for a short period of time as we play, and we will remember that they have the ability to stand in a door and just hodor it up and just be like, nah, you're not getting past this. So I feel like we'll go into the next scenario. We have skeletons like, now, Detty, if you got jump, because you could get stuck. And that's now, again, it's created a funny moment that's going to continue to move forward, even into Gloomhaven, right? Like these are the types of things that can. So yeah. It's like, have skeletons, need jump, right? Like,
yeah. Everyone get their jump boots first thing.
So just on the mechanics quickly,
yeah,
because I agree that I will not remember this scenario when we do our top 10 and bottom 10, right? We might have some other weird categories where it does come up in memory when I go through everything. But I thought that the idea of having protection amulets that give them AC, and they have the reincarnation amulets which bring them back, was actually really cool. Like the block of text when we were reading it was like, oh my God, like this seems like they've deliberately made this hard to understand. Yeah. As soon as we were doing it, it was easy, right? As soon as doing it, like, that makes sense. But I don't know. There's something about the theme of those two amulets being on them, and something really clean with the idea of, certain mobs on the map have this amulet, and when they die, they drop it, and when they come back, a skeleton comes back up. Right?
Yeah.
Like, but doing it at the initiative that they have their turn, so it's not an end of round thing, it's not a start of round thing. You could plan around it and you could gamble, because we did that turn at the end. We didn't have any other option, but it was a gamble because we're like, well, if they go at like what they've got like a 10 or something, like their lowest initiative, we're like, if we go like they go before us, there's a chance that they're going to come up, and Mark's like, that's okay because I've got my initiative boot. So he had an item as a backup.
Yeah.
But again, it created a little bit more tension rather than just at the end of the round or at the start of the round, in which case then you can't math around it, right? You can't play around it. So therefore you've got to be like, oh well, we can't kill anything unless we can loot at that turn, which just changes the equation.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I just thought the whole amulet thing was a really cool way of implementing that. And something that I don't know if we've seen it like that, where you have a particular mob will have a bonus based on kind of how it's on the map. Like, I mean, because it's the numbered token. It's the numbered standee. So,
well, it was the first time we had to shuffle the standees. We actively didn't want to game it, and because you just took control. You shuffled the standees whenever we had to populate the room again or explore a new room that was going to spawn new ones, so that we didn't, because normally by habit we take it off, we put it to the side, another room with more of these, we put it back on again, right? But then you get used to the fact that we're always going to have a number 1, which is an odd number, so this kept it fresh.
Yeah.
And it was one of the few times we had to make that adjustment.
And it was funny because 2 or 3 scenarios ago, I did my trial, which for spoilers I won't talk about, but it mattered what the number standee was. And we didn't do that, but I couldn't say it because it would have given away that was something to do with it. So because this was everyone, I was like, okay, that happened in that scenario. And it kind of booked me a bit because we just kept putting the same standee on there. But yeah, shuffling them up and putting them out was interesting. So yeah, I think I would feel completely different about this scenario, right? If at the end there was no mention of looting those amulets. Like if that was just plain nothing, I would have been like, this maybe I would have a little rant. But I think they saved it there by putting it in, which is cool.
What's bullshit is the reward was there was what was it called? Amulet of Eternal Life, which sounds misleading, but every time you rest, it's a headpiece. Every time you rest, you heal 1, which is very different to what the ones they were wearing. Like, I wouldn't mind an Amulet of Protection. Like, +3 shield's pretty good. Why is he not giving us one of those? Like, can we just be like, here's all of the ones we've picked up. I've kept one in my pocket that he doesn't know about. Or can we have one?
Yeah.
Is it, well, pay 50? I'll pay 100 gold. Can I have an Amulet of Protection? It sounds good for, like, as an item.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was cool. So yeah, no, I enjoyed that from a mechanics and design perspective.
Yeah. Mark finished his trial. We're going into a trial segment again. Mark's trial was Trial of Expression. Mark's, by the way, the trial king. So if you've got a trial, like mow your lawn or fix your house or something, give it to him. He'll do it in a day.
We can rent him out for scenarios. So if you're playing an online game and you need to get through a certain trial, just bring him in, sub him in, and he can do it and he'll smash it out.
That's right. So randomly throughout the scenario, Mark every now and then be like, I take 3 damage. And it was like, oh, what's going on there? And I knew it was trial related. And I was trying to then work out, what are we doing that's triggering? Like, we're doing something. Can we exploit this? Can we kill him? Like, what do we do? He was just randomly taking 3 damage. And I was in my head like, is it got something to do with, like, we just rested. So maybe it's that. And we couldn't work it out. Anyway, we tried to guess it and we couldn't work it out. He finished it and then he told us. So trial of expression. At the start of each scenario, select one noun. If your selected noun is not spoken aloud by another player during each round, suffer damage equal to level divided by 2, which ended up being 3 at the end of the round. So it was happening at the end of the round that he was doing it, and he was tracking the noun that he had selected and whether or not we would pick it. So the selected noun can't be card, attack, damage. Like, if it was there. Oh, wait, with those as available ones. Door, monster, hex, or initiative. You've passed this trial when you complete a scenario. So, do you remember what he picked?
Shield?
He picked shield. which was very
Brilliant.
clever.
Just brilliant.
Like, because it was like we had so many shield things. It was like, don't forget the shield. We need a way to break through the shield. We'd be applying damage on X-Haven, and it's going, how much damage is it? This much, okay. And then you're like, oh, but you got to minus the 3 shield. Provided you and one of us is saying it, and clearly, there were some rounds we didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool and very well played, Mark, on your choice of word.
No, it was, and that's again talking about the trials. Like, it's a very clever one, in a similar vein to what we've talked about with Phil's one that he had around the not saying words, but it reversed it because he was now had to be acutely aware of when people did say it, so that he didn't take the damage. And I like that because that becomes personal, and also it's really tricky because we were trying to work it out, and I think. The thing that maybe threw us is that we were resting, and we were actually pretty in sync in regards to our rests most of the way through, I think, card-wise. So because we were resting at the end of the round, like a short rest, we'd be like, okay, we short rest. Yeah, short rest. He's like, I take 3 damage. We're like, oh, is it if 2 people rest in the same turn? Like, There was all these resting type things, and we had a few guesses at the end, but we didn't get it. But no, like a really cool trial that created a situation where he had to almost... Well, you can do it 2 ways, right? You can puzzle your way through and go like, what's a word here that I think, and he looked at the scenario and went like, everything's got shields, so this will be one. Or you could brute force your way through it, right? Like you could just
factor in that you're going to take the damage.
3 damage every round and try to brute force your way through that and just pick a thing that you hope people say. But he didn't try to bait us into it, which was
what
good.
I was about to say. He didn't. And that I think he actively said he could have easily just sat there and be like, oh, what does that card do? And you're like, oh, it's +2 shield, you idiot. Like, clearly. He didn't. He actively said to us he didn't try to bait us into it. He got into the spirit of the trial, and it was well done because of it. Yeah,
and I think when he completed it at the end as well, that made it like... It was like, oh, okay, cool. And then he did that, and then he explained, like, I picked shield because I looked at the monster list and blah, blah, blah. And it was like kudos. Like, absolutely a great trial, and I think a really great experience for the whole table of that trial brought. So, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. His quick thoughts on the scenario we just did. To quote Gaz, this was perfectly vanilla. Is that a quote from you?
I think I've said that before.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. You like everyone loves vanilla.
Yeah.
Kill all with an interesting twist, which was not super admin heavy. Story-wise, this would have been more impactful if we had have done it when we got it and been on the hunt for the crown. Even doing it so late, it was a cool throwback and on theme for the Bone Shaper. As we have discussed in the past, it would have been an opportunity to throw something in from the retiring class, like the Shaper sends in some skellies, or the Abomination gets loose, or something crazy. But at least she got some lines of dialogue in. So, love it.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, because the story as you go through had the Bone Shaper following you around, but they were there, but they weren't there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what else you could do for that. But yeah.
Ormy.
I think it would be fine because it's a slow moving kind of like there's not many monsters. I don't think that he's pushing ahead. He's definitely not getting through the door.
No, but he would be next to me for 2 target hits. That's
true. But like big. if we had known that, I could have just moved in that spot, right?
True. Then there's also the elite Frozen Corpse with the Retaliate 3 that we just need him to not get fixated on.
Yeah, if he locks onto the wrong monster, he's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, because then after that, the second room, I think we've got time. Although he and I would be moving at the same pace. So I don't know. It's kind of awkward. We'd both be moving at 2 hexes around. So if he got through to the end, there's a chance that he gets, potentially clapped. But I think he's all right. DPS. Now, it's an interesting point you raised earlier because, no, Mark is not counting retaliate damage. So my meters always look sad. And we're not counting, shielding and damage mitigation and all that kind of stuff. So we need to fix that. So did he not
record your retaliate?
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know that, and that's fine. I know Phil was recording my Kravitz retaliate because it was a big thing. So that's really interesting because I would have been fascinated to know how much you did there because that's that pure damage that was just like, again, a constant through the whole scenario.
So Mark finished on 76. Maybe it was because, he wants to stay on top with his kill. Gaz on 62. Gaz really coming through. I mean, you had a lot of shield to deal with. To be able to pull 62 and get through all of that shield is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think he said there was one turn. I think I hit for 16, which was because that was on my card that hits and then splits. So
yeah.
I think I need to get a power.
Was there brittle as well? I think it might have been, or I don't know.
It might have been. Although, funny thing, as a kind of tangent for another moment, I remember you being able to put brittle on things, and normally we'd be like, oh no, don't put brittle on that because the wound is going to tick and that'll ruin the brittle. But we're like, yeah, put brittle on it and the wound will tick for 2.
Yeah.
We're like, yes, 2 pure damage. This is like good brittle target considering we can't actually get through these shields.
2 pure damage is everything.
Yeah.
I finished on 21, so that was with 5 attacks. I don't really remember attacking too much. Damage taken, Gaz took 16, Mark took 17, and I took 24, and then healing, Gaz healed 6, I healed 12, Mark healed 13. Mark took 17. It must have been that one round he wasn't invisible, because normally he doesn't take any damage. Although I wonder if he was factoring in when we weren't, saying shield.
I think he probably wrote that down as well, yeah. Yeah, because that happened maybe like 3 or 4 times. So, yeah.
Outpost phase. Oh, yeah. Do you have anything?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, which is hilarious on a scenario that, like, that trial again, how many rounds? It took like 18 rounds or something like that, didn't it? Like, that one went for ages.
After we got through the first door, it sped up a little bit. But the first door, the majority of the scenario was at that door, basically.
Yeah. But, like, that's it. Like, one of these ones that drags on, like, it's every... Yeah, it's funny.
Outpost phase. So we had retirement returns. So we had 2 sections in there. We had our fist. The fist comes back. Very exciting. Because we were like, what are we getting here? We just couldn't really remember. So the fist comes back and talks a lot faster than the snowflake, just saying. It was a very quick thing for it to read through. But the fist is actually living his best life. Traveled to the White Oak where they start in a play called The West Side Fisting. They had Fister on the roof, and we can't forget the sound of fisting. 3 smash hits on Broadway. Met with the Inox clans of the Great Grove and ended up fisting people on the front line. So was searching for artifacts in the Lingering Swamp and ended up in Gloomhaven to fight bandits with a mercenary group called the Jaws of the Lion, which was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Very cool, etc. So... after all of that, returned to us just to say, hey, by the way, this is a shit town, but I'm having the time of my life. I just wanted to pass on some of my experiences with you, and here's 3 axe nuts. I was actually happy with that.
When would you like the rant?
You were disgusted. You were so disgusted.
When do we want the rant now? Do you want to like later? Do you want me to record it separately and just send it through?
If you could keep your rant to no, just go for it. 3 axe nuts, guys. What's wrong with that?
It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Like, okay. Just very quickly, I'll try to keep it to bullet points, okay? I love that he's gone around and done a world tour of the world and basically come back and said, Frosthaven is a shithole, right? Like, it's the only one of 2 places that seem to exist in the entire world, but it's remote and a shithole. So whatever, let's just go with that. But I think that was cool. Yeah. But the reward, like, I don't get it. Like, why 3 axe nuts? Like, it's so random that those were the type of herb. Like, giving us a herb as a reward is a bit weird because there's 6 of them and they all need to be used in different combinations for different things. I think axe nuts might be used in some of the better potions, which maybe helps, but axe nuts are still random. And then to be 3 of the same herb, like maybe 1 of each, or maybe 1 of 3 herbs, but they're different, or pick 3 or something. I don't know. It's just like it rates high on the good rewards list. It
does.
We have also clarified that the bar is not very high. Well, so the fact that he didn't give us nothing,
that we got cleared out.
Yeah, that's true. If you got cleared out by Vermlings, gain 3 axe nuts. Yeah, that's.
I'm reading his character board right now to be like, maybe there is something we're missing here, and there's a thematic link to it. Like, according to the Frozen Fist and some of the Algogs, axe nuts are a sign of respect and prosperity and all that kind of stuff. right? Maybe someone's going to come to us and say, no, you missed this whole lore thing around axe nuts. But I mean, I can't find anything, but they chose that.
I'm more than happy to be explained why axe nuts are relevant and the correct reward for this one. But yeah, so I'm not ranting that we got a reward of herbs. It's more just like, why axe nuts? It's so random. Like,
It is. Yes, we're comparing it to the snowflake who came back and gave us 3 morale, and some people come back and given us 1 inspiration or that. Like when I saw that, I was like, wow, something we can use. Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, it's just like saying they've come back and given us something we can actually use.
Yes, correct. Yes, it is at the top because it's something. That's it. Like, again, very low bar, but yeah, that's it. So, yeah. But it is now, again, talking about ongoing jokes. The ongoing joke of a retirement now is going to be, and 3 axe nuts.
Yep.
Like, I hope when I retire finally in like 60 years, once I get to retirement age, like at least I get 3 axe nuts, right?
Yeah, so officially there'll be 4 retirements, I think, that we still have yet to see, which is the 3 characters we're playing. Did I say 4?
Yeah. And
Kelp Astral, and your shards. Oh, sorry. And then, of course, the 4th is the one we're about to talk about, which is the drill. So the drill came back, and they left to go seek Quattrels because I think Quattrels made him, and he wanted some info and all that. And had a good time as well. Nowhere near as good as the Fist, but he doesn't know what the Fist did because they actually came at separate points. Like, Fist came back first. They didn't come back together and be like, oh, hey, you're also coming back. They didn't realize the other one was coming back. And, Drill wants to stay with the Quattrels. And he just basically, I don't know, he didn't have the excitement and enthusiasm of the Fist, so it was kind of like he closed the show and it was kind of a bit, you're sucking the energy out of the room. But did say that they're going to go live with the Quattrels, and by the way, here's a random puzzle, and threw it at us and then left. What a dick. Which just came back and
groaned at.
Yeah, well, Mark's finished the puzzle book, so he needed something new. The drill knew that, came back and goes, here, solve this, and then left. So the verdict and jury is still out on this one, right?
Look, this is one of those ones.
Gaz.
If it's shit, then it's even worse than nothing, right? If they solve this puzzle and you get 3 axe nuts, right? Okay. Then this is one of the worst ones. But the fact he's given us a puzzle is potentially one of the most interesting ones we've had so far.
It is. 3 metal. Because it's like you solve like one of those little metal contraptions, and then he's like, you pull, the interlocking puzzles, and you're sitting there trying to work them out, and then you can pull them apart, and then you're like, oh, I solved it. It's one of those, and we get 3 metal.
Hopefully,
but, yeah. I have no idea if he's made any progress on it. He was looking at it towards the end of the scenario, and we'll check in with him on Monday.
Yeah.
Then we also had a outpost event. This was summer outpost event 62. This was a fairly okay one. It was elite special forces being hired, basically. Right. And where do we want to put them? Do we want them in a big camp, so we call the SWAT team and they all come out, or do we want them stationed around for added protection? And I didn't care about the choice anymore because I'd already done it by this stage. But look, I could have done it here as well, right? Like, this was an opportunity for me to get that trial out of the way. And we selected one of them, I think. I don't remember, but it involves, it was the elite force, I think.
Yeah.
And we add to our modified deck for outpost attacks, which, it's all right. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's good.
So, unless there's anything else you want to add, I'm going to jump into Kelega's quiz, which is I'm very excited for. So we put out a while back, because we've been doing a couple of quizzes lately, and by that I mean I've been making quizzes and throwing them at Gaz, and it's been very amusing and very fun. And we put it out there that, if anyone wants to add to this, go for it. And Kelega's put together a quiz for us, which I was very excited for because he's done it in such a way that he's hidden the answers, so I don't even know what it says, right? So we're going in fresh, which is pretty cool. So let me have a look here. So he wrote at the start of the document, he said, "Hi, Gaz and Detty. Kevin here, Kelega on Discord. Thought Gaz being ambushed with questions he got..." I haven't actually read this before. "Thought Gaz being ambushed with questions he got to be wrong to was a bit unfair for him. So to be fair, I prepared something so that you can both be wrong." Which sounds
Love
great.
It. Equal opportunity.
"I collected data on the Frosthaven monsters. What I've done is as follows. You don't need to read this, but it's just for the record. I will probably read this so that you can understand it. So he collected the level 5 non-boss monster stats. So health, movement, attack, shield, retaliate, and any innate conditions that they apply on their attacks. He arbitrarily chose a level, so he picked level 5. He didn't want to go through all the levels, so he's just gone with level 5. He collected all monster ability cards initiative and classified them as followed. So initiative value, whether or not they have an attack, whether the attack is a ranged attack, whether they have move, whether they have heal, whether they summon, whether they apply positive conditions to themselves / allies, whether they apply negative condition to you. And now I have a bunch of data to analyze and give you a quiz, which I'm already terrified. So important assumptions. Monsters, level 5 stat cards used, no bosses. And ability cards, I have not collected information on gaining shield / retaliate / elements / dealing true damage or which statuses were applied. Just in terms of time and recording this all down, I drew the line somewhere. It is assumed that all elements are always available. So if a lightning eel needs light to stun, I count that as it applies a negative condition always. I have not counted monsters applying negative conditions to themselves. And then he's got a test question here that I can highlight. So the question says, which monster in Frosthaven is brittle? Which I think is a joke. And if I unhighlight it, it says...
Frost Imp.
Yeah.
Snow Imp.
Well, Snow Imp. Yeah. And that's it. So on to the quiz. Now, I wasn't too sure whether this was meant to be head-to-head. If it is head-to-head, the only issue with this is going to be either we talk out loud our findings or we don't talk because we're trying to solve it, which means we're going to be sitting here in silence until we get an answer.
I mean, if the questions are like the other one that we just got the test question, then we can both just say our answers, right? And then we look, and then you just highlight it and read the answer.
Okay, let's just see. So go on to the quiz. As a frame of reference for some of the questions, there are 96 different monsters. Okay. Oh, because there's 48, so normal and elite.
Okay.
Right. Question 1. Of the 3 main factions, Lurker, Olgox, and Unfettered, which faction is the slowest on average?
Ooh. So Lurker, Algox, and Unfettered, was it?
Yeah, it has to be Unfettered.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Bolt shooters don't seem very slow. I mean, yeah, they've got
And
some
the big steely guys, they walk slow. Yeah,
automaton,
yeah.
ancient artillery.
Maybe what we can do as part of this is we can see if collectively we are smart enough to get answers right, because people will be playing this at home. Right?
Yeah.
So we can like amDirt versus everyone else. So
sure.
Like that way, and that way we can kind of talk through our answers, because that's more interesting to listen to anyway.
I think so. I 100% agree.
Yeah, so I'm typing it. I'm gonna lock in Unfettered.
Oh, hang on.
What?
I'm just remembering. I'm just going through the others in my head. Ice Speaker and Olgox. I think Olgox. There are more Olgox enemies, monsters. There are definitely more. And priests have 3 cards that are super fast, right? So the question is,
are you talking speed as in initiative?
I think so.
Oh, I thought it was speed as in movement.
Oh, 3-man. I think it was it's a stat initiative quiz. That's a good point, actually. Is it though? I've not collected information. Sure, you should be able to highlight. I collected all the monster ability initiative value.
What's the question?
Look, I'm on of the 3 main factions, Local, Olgox, and Unfettered. Which faction is the slowest on average? I'm thinking slow means. Otherwise, you would have mentioned movement.
Oh, okay.
I think it might be initiative.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, in that case, then. I mean, do cannons count as Unfettered?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because they go really slow, and I think so do the big robots.
Yeah, Ruin Machines also, I think, are more mid-range. I can't really remember if they have early, but their Explode card is very late. And you got Flaming Blade Spinners are the one that stands out as they might be on the far side.
Same with the Bolt Shooters. I think they can usually go pretty quick.
They've got some slowies as well, though.
Yeah, okay. I think the Algox usually are pretty early.
And Lurker. What about Lurker?
I don't know. I think Mind Snippers usually go pretty quick from what we've seen, but I reckon Claw Crushers and Soldiers... The Claw Crushers are usually pretty late, unless they're doing a Shield Retaliate thing.
Is it because they look big, Gaz?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's because they look big. Yeah, big things slow.
All right.
I'd still reckon Unfettered. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me just highlight the
I
first
hope
bit.
this isn't like 30 questions because this is why this pod's going to go for like 4 hours.
No, there's 9.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Unfettered with an
Yes.
average initiative of 52.5.
Okay.
That's cool. I like that there's numbers. Kelly,
Does
you
it
need to do
give the
numbers.
comparisons?
I'm about to highlight the next bit.
Okay, cool.
Olgox has an average of 40.7 and Lurker is 40.25.
Oh, okay.
If I had to choose between the other two, I don't know if I would have picked that right.
Nah, I don't think I would have. I would have had the Algox being quicker.
I wonder if that comes down to the fact that there are so many more Olgox monsters. So does that play a role? Because sorry, Lurker, you've got 4, unless they're counting eels. But eels, are they part of a Bailey or are they just randomly added to either?
They're just water. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'd have to
next
be.
question.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right. So we're 1 for 1. All right.
One
nice.
for one, yeah.
All right. Question 2. How many elite monsters exist that Phil thinks are bullshit and he used to often forget a key rule on their card, but just getting lucky and managing to avoid it? So this is clearly a retaliate.
So how many elite monsters have retaliate?
So we just worked out that Frozen Corpses definitely do.
Yep.
Right? Ice Wraiths, elite.
Ooh.
Yeah. Normals at shield.
Yep. Spinning Beyblades.
Spinning Beyblades, yep. That's true. Oh, fuck, this might take a while.
What else has... which of the demons have... I think Flame demons have retaliate.
Flame.
And there's another one.
Not sun.
Is it Ice?
Ice do, yes.
Ice do. Okay, so that's 5.
Yeah.
Did it want which of or how many?
How many elite monsters?
Okay, so we're at 5.
Well, let's break down the Olgox then. Do Olgox have an elite, a retaliate user that we can think of?
So the Snow Speakers? They've got push.
Oh, do they have shield or retaliate?
I think they have...
I have a feeling it's a ranged retaliate now, like a 3 or something like that.
Oh, it is. Yes. I remember from when we did the Titan. Yeah. Okay, yep, you're right. Okay. Spot on.
So we're at 6. Anything else from Olgox? Not priests, not the priests of shield, archers, not guards, not... Guards don't have anything, really. They don't have retaliate, which seems weird.
Nah, so I think Algox is fine.
And
what about robots?
Robots?
Which one do you want to do? Robots or Lurkers?
Well, robots, I think we've... Just the spinners, right? It's just the...
I think it's just the spinners. Yeah.
Ruined Machine don't. And then Lurkers.
I don't think any of the Lurkers do either, do they?
Not that I can think of. A Bailey don't. Lightning Eels don't. Piranha Pigs don't. So I think their Bailey's all good as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got all the random stuff. Polar Bears. The Polar Bears have... Okay, Hounds. Do Hounds?
Oh, yes. Yes, Hounds do. Yeah, good memory. Wolves. The other random things like... the Burrowing Blades, they've got shield though.
Yeah.
But the elites have retaliate.
Oh. You've got a separate document there. If you want to lock that in, I'm not going to, but you can lock it in for you and we can just sort of play off each other.
No, I don't think they do. I think they have shields, but no retaliate. So we're on 7 so far, right?
We're on 7 at the moment.
And Drakes,
I was looking at the animals.
Neither of the Drakes have...
No, I don't... They've got innate something, don't they? They've innate wound.
Yeah.
But they don't have... No, they can't. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna say 7.
Shrike Fiends?
Oh. Do they have retaliate?
I don't know.
Oh, Harrowers.
Harrowers?
Do they have shields or retaliate, or they got both?
I don't know.
I know they have a retaliate card.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so with 7 and whether Shriek Fiends have retaliate. I don't think Shriek Fiends have retaliate.
Okay.
I don't think
so that's 8, right?
8? Oh, did you add Harrowers?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, my thought process is whatever number we can come up with, we're definitely missing a couple here and there. Well, let's add 2 or 3 to it and then go with like 11 or something. Because there's 48 and we've just managed to pull that many. Does that sound right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm going to go with 8. What are you going to say?
I'll go with 10.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So here we go. 10. It is 10.
Wow, that's
lots of types of retaliate. I don't know what the other ones are though.
Oh, it hasn't listed them.
No, he hasn't listed them.
Oh, that's all right. We can go through. We can go through them later.
I wonder what the other ones are. It'll be something like obvious. Maybe one of the imps. No, it can't be. All right. Question 3. What is the most common condition that monsters innately apply at level 5 that is written on their stat card? Counting, common, and elite. Most common condition innately applied. It'd be wound or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, do all the imps innately? They don't all innately do the same thing, do they?
No, because you got brittle, poison, and curse.
Innate. Yeah, I'd say wound. I reckon a few things have wound.
It feels like the most. It feels like the easiest one to not like. If you sat there and put, I don't know, curse on so many, it would feel like, oh, this is horrible. This is bullshit. Why there's so many? But wound you kind of accept as, no, this makes sense. It's just slightly harder without being like, it's not like they're muddling you every round or whatever.
Or muddle could be one as well.
I know, as soon as I said it.
Yeah.
I know you.
I'm just going to go with my instincts. I'm going to say wound.
I will join you, but if it's muddle, I'm going to be sad. All right. It is wound with 9 monsters. Okay.
Nice.
That's cool. Counting both common and elite enemies, since there are differences in applied conditions. 8 apply poison and 7 apply muddle.
Sure.
Okay. Game's easy, guys.
Yep, easy game.
Question 4. What monster has the most variance in its initiative and which is the most consistent? Oh.
Okay.
Because there's a lot that double up. They've got 2 cards. Like wave throwers have 2 of the same reset cards. And I feel like I've covered one of these recently that it's not the priests.
Oh, another one that has retaliate, I just remembered, is Deep Terrors.
Yes. Nice.
So that gets us to 9.
Yeah.
We're still missing one somewhere.
Yeah. Most variance in its initiative.
Yeah. I'm trying to think something that there must be something that just has a really late one. Oh, I'm going to say Ice Wraiths.
Ice Wraiths for variance or consistent?
For variance. Because I reckon they've got really early, but then they've got their switch, which is super late.
And they've only got 1 switch, don't they? I'm more looking at the resets that aren't doubled up.
So when we're saying variance, are we just saying the greatest gap between their highest and their lowest? Low?
No, variance is in I think it's a good point actually. Yeah, it could be the greatest gap. Because I know that priests don't have a real high end one. They've got a lot of early ones. Okay, so yeah, you could be right with Ice Wraiths. I know they've definitely got one in the 90s.
Yeah, well, Ice Wraiths.
Yeah.
Well, I think their swap is like 95 or something like that.
Yeah,
like it's really,
like 96
really late.
or something.
Yeah. Does anything summon in this? Because I remember the cultists in Gloomhaven would summon, and they'd always summon super late.
I mean, wave throwers summon.
Yeah, and so do Deep Terrors.
And so
but I don't know if
the Savas, Ice Storm, and I believe the Lava Flow. They summon demons.
Yeah, and Living Dooms. Yeah, but I don't know if they have really early cards. Like I think the summons are usually really late, but I don't know if they have really early ones. So, I'm gonna say Ice Wraiths for the biggest variance. What about the most consistent?
Harrowers. I think it's Harrowers. We did a spotlight recently, and their initiatives went from like, I don't know, 9 to like 27 or something.
Yeah, true.
It was super early, and I didn't know that until we did the breakdown.
The other one I was thinking is wolves, hounds, man, bear, pig. They always seem to go really quick.
I feel like they have a late. I feel like they have a,
no. I think Harrower. I think Harrower is a good call. Yeah, I'll lock in Harrower too.
Okay, so what, Ice Wraith and Harrower?
I think Ice Wraith. I don't know though. Like I might be missing something. They might not have a really early card. I think they do. I'm just because I think they have a shield card.
That would make sense. Yeah. I think they do because they buff up their. Sometimes they've got their standard like normals have like a shield 1 or 2, and then they add more to it, and then it's like, oh, okay, go for the elite, which also has a shield now and retaliate, so that's worse. Okay, let's have a look.
All right.
Oh, Savas Ice Storm has the most variance. Okay,
for like 2 of them. Okay, sure.
I got baited.
Yeah.
Piranha Pig is the most consistent.
Okay.
Interesting.
And they've just got like 10 nothing specials.
Perhaps. Let me just quickly bring up. Piranha Pig. So they go from 13 to 40, unless
Okay, so that's
he's talking about differences in abilities.
what the Harrowers go from.
Harrowers go from 2 to 38. Oh,
So that's
okay.
36. Okay, the others are what worked out to be 27?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Or 23?
Yeah,
okay,
well
cool.
played.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. Yeah, that was a good one. Okay,
I
cool.
like that. Okay. So question 5. Are there more cards that apply negative conditions to players on actions with only melee attacks, or is it actions with at least one ranged attack? Oh, God. I'm immediately going to the imps because, well, they're not melee, though. Are there more cards that apply? Oh, okay. So melee or ranged, which one applies more conditions?
Okay. I'm going to
It has to be
say...
ranged.
Does it say attacks or cards?
Are there more cards that apply negative conditions to players on actions with only melee attacks or on actions with at least one ranged attack?
Yeah, see, ranged attack is interesting because the Yetis, for example, they do like say brittle and immobilize, but that's not an attack. That's just so it's got to be attacks. But in saying that, I could just be tricking myself out of that being the correct answer.
I don't think this is a logical thing. Like it will be for some people. For me, it's more like what have I experienced and what do I remember? I just feel like ranged attacks are always the ones that do it. Like they've got the ones that are hybrids but have melee and ranged. If they have an innate on their monster stat sheet, I have a feeling that it's like, it's also going to have innate this. But this ability card's also throwing a poison in as well. And that's usually on a range.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm trying to think that melee attacks should be the one that has the more negative conditions because it's more of a reward for ranged is safer, right? That kind of thing. But you're right. Like if they just put in innate wound or poison or something like that, like on a melee character, they don't have to put it on the card. So yeah, I think starting to agree with you. I think maybe it is ranged.
I'm starting to go the other way just because if you're agreeing with me, then I start to get worried.
Well, I'm going on the basis of what you said before, of like all the imps, right? Because they've got heaps of cards that all do negative effects, and they're all ranged.
The ability cards, I don't think it's counting the innate though. So their attacks, just like their multi-target, either element, hit 3 things. I don't think it's just going to apply whatever their innate is. So if it's a forest imp, it's just going to curse 3 targets.
Don't they, all the imps have a innate and then like a lot of their cards do like an extra thing, like a poison or...
Some of their cards do. I don't know how many though, because it could be 1 or 2. 1 or 2 out of 8.
I'm going to go 50-50 and go with ranged.
All right.
I'm going to go with the basis that I'm always wrong and you've chosen ranged first, so I'm going to pick ranged. And now you're going on the basis that you don't want to pick the thing that I picked, which is actually what you picked, so you're going to go with melee. I love it. All right,
I'll go with melee. It is ranged. Ranged attacks. So 45 cards with ranged attack abilities apply a status condition. 33 of the melee do. Nice. I should have stuck with my gut and not doubted myself. Thank you for not doubting me, guys, like I doubted myself. All right, 6.
No, how many? You didn't doubt yourself. You doubted me. That's why
I didn't doubt you. I went, okay, technically it looks that way, but you still selected you were going to go with melee to begin with, which meant that I didn't doubt you. How many monsters have an attack ability on every single card in their ability deck? Right.
Ooh, okay.
Archers. I'll go with archers.
Yeah.
Anything that looks tanky will usually have a shield, right?
Yeah.
So we don't count those. It's like robotic bolt shooters. It's archers, so I'll have a little list here. Robotic bolt shooters and things like archers. I'm just thinking of most ranged things.
None of the imps do because they've all got that 5 shield card.
And they're muddle strengthen. Ancient artillery.
Do they?
I believe so.
They don't have anything. They don't have like a shield card. Like they don't have a shield card that they don't attack.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Okay. Deep terrors as well. Then
deep terrors. Yeah. Basically anything that heals itself, I'm not counting.
Okay.
Yeah, deep terrors. Things that are ranged, because the ranged ones, like, and Dwarf made a reference to this ages ago with like the archers. It's like they've kind of made sure that they're high priority targets because they don't have that rest ability. They're consistently doing stuff.
So do you have like 3 at the moment? Like
We're
the 2.
4 at the moment.
What's the 4th?
Maybe I just
So
put my finger up. I don't know.
Archers and the 2 turrets, right?
Archers, 2 turrets, and bolt shooters is what I put in there as well. I think bolt shooters
Oh,
also.
okay. They have an early shield card though.
Do they?
I think so.
Oh, they do have a heal card now that I think about it, because that
that's
kind of
it. Maybe
cooked
it's
us
the
a
heal.
little bit. But maybe it's an attack and heal. I don't know. Let me brains do
it's like a
attack heals.
self-repairs or something like that. Like,
yeah, okay. Then it must be early then. Otherwise, it'd be crap.
All right, I'm going to stay with 3. I'm just trying to think if... Oh, I reckon the big axe dude.
Ice speaker.
Isn't it isn't the speaker the...
Snow speaker and ice speaker.
Snow speaker. Oh, okay, yeah. I reckon the axe dude does.
Yeah, I think it's a good call.
I'm going to go with 4.
So that's
5. Well, you're with 5.
Oh, well, 4. Okay. We won't do
I'm
the
with
bolt
4,
shooters
but if you want to go with bolt shooters, you can go with 5, yeah.
And then the Detty law is what, add 3 to once you've worked it out.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm gonna not do that, and I'm gonna say harrowers, which is 5. I reckon harrowers don't ever not attack you. Interesting though, there are some like Shriek Fiends that are gonna do damage, but it won't be an attack. So there's gonna be some weird ones like that.
Yeah. Everything within range, whatever takes damage.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with 5. No, 6. I'm gonna go with 6 because I'm gonna put piranha pigs in there. Although do eels never ever not attack? 7.
Okay, what? So 10. Okay.
Oh, but what about like mine snippers and
yeah, well, we haven't seen enough mind slippers to know. I assume
to know, yeah.
Because even their brainwashing one is an attack.
It is, yeah. All right, 12.
So I like 12. 12's pretty good.
Okay, all right.
I actually like that. All right. Oh, 7.
Oh no, I was that was where I was at, and then I just kept adding.
He's actually listed them too: Wind Demon, Ancient Artillery, Deep Terror, Night Demon, Chaos Demon. I was thinking Chaos Demon. I just couldn't remember if they had an early element creation, shield thing. Lightning Eel, nice, and Algox Archer.
Okay. Yeah, cool.
That's pretty cool. That's question 7. What monster has the least number of ability cards with an attack on it? True damage does not count. So it's the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It'd be a priest or something, surely. Although all of the conditions that they apply at like 8, and whatever it is, they attack and then do the thing. So maybe not.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe there's a bit of a trick here.
Don't they have 2 of the strength model cards? And then the shielding ones? They have 2 or 1?
Maybe. What about wave throwers? They've got their 2 reset cards. No, is it 2 reset cards or summons or 1 of yeah. And then they also do an immobilize, which is not an attack, right?
Yeah, they've got attacks that do. I think they've got an name mobilize. It's been a long time. Or they have attacks, like you say, with it there as well.
The other one I'm thinking that maybe is a bit of a tricky one is Shriek Fiends. Because they do a lot of not attacking, right? They just do like pure, everything takes pure damage.
Yeah, Snow Speakers do as well.
So I don't know, maybe if they have lots of... Before last week, I would have said Yetis never hit us, but I think that might just be a experience thing. Yeah, I don't know which monster does. I'm going to go with Shriek Fiends just as a stab in the dark at a kind of a wild card. Dark horse style guess. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
You go with something. You go with something more consistent.
What was the other thing that we suggested?
You're talking about priests and healers and stuff like
that. No, there was another one that we literally were saying alongside. Oh, Snow Speaker. Do I go with Snow Speaker? They've got a big ranged immobilized 5 range. Yeah, okay. I will have a stab. I like yours, but hey, we'll just cheat and we'll just pick 2. But I'll pick 1, you pick 1, and then amDirt's right. Okay,
that's right.
If it's there. Wind. Wrong one. That was the previous one. Savast Lava Flow. I don't know if we've seen one yet.
Yeah, like maybe one.
Ice Storm we have. Ice Storm we definitely have because of the mirror one, the Ice Cave, and also the there was the one with the room was split from the 2 different elements, right? Lava Flow, I don't know if we've seen one yet. And if we have, he was shit. Because we don't
In the bin.
remember.
All
But
right.
interesting. 4 cards that do least number of attacks. So, half their deck is not attacks.
Yeah, cool.
Probably summoning and stuff. All right, which monsters have the absolute... This is question 8. Which monsters have the absolute biggest absolute change in health between commons and elites? Oh, we had one recently.
Yeah, I feel like there's one that's like really drastic. Like
I think it was it Algox Priest? I think it goes from 12 to 19. Now that's a base level to work with. So what, 9? I know that the frozen corpses from earlier when I was researching this are like for this difficulty was 17 and 24.
yeah, I'm also thinking like, what about polar bears?
Polar bears.
Didn't their elites have like 30 something health?
I don't know if it was that big. It might have been 24 or 26.
Yeah, okay.
I think it might be a similar bracket, like 17 to 24, 26, etc. But there might be one monster that's completely built around having that vast difference.
Yeah, okay.
It's got to be a big health thing. It can't be like a snow imp or something because their health is low to begin with.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go with polar bear.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with Algox Priest. Sorry. In brackets, it's got 3 tie. There's a 3-way tie.
There's 3 of them that do this. Okay,
so it might be bracket. And I saw one of them just then as I went over it. So it's a vast lava flow again, but we never would have guessed that. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Good to know in the future. We'll be well prepped.
I'm still going with polar
Oh,
bear.
yeah, okay. So we could both be right here. Okay. Chaos Demon? Oh.
Okay.
Let me have a look. Chaos Demon. So at 5, it's 1626. So that's 10. Yeah, interesting. And then lastly, Shrike Fiends.
Okay.
All increase their HP by 10.
Yeah.
Going from common to elite. So I reckon we would have been close-ish. Finally, what monsters have the biggest percent change in health? There are 2.
What do you mean?
Type. Biggest percent change in health.
I don't understand what that question's asking.
Look. I don't know either. I'm just copying it.
Which 2 monsters have the biggest percent change in health? Is it lowest, maybe? Because the last one was which ones have the biggest difference in health, right?
Yeah.
So would this one be which monsters have the lowest?
Oh, I don't like this because everyone can hear the way we kind of misinterpret things.
Yeah, and have no idea what we're talking about, yeah.
People are like, it's obvious.
Yeah, you're getting a live interpretation of how wrong we are.
Okay, so what monsters have the biggest percent change in health? How is that different to the previous question? Is it worded differently?
Read the previous question.
Which monsters have the biggest absolute change in health between commons and elites? So it's got something to do with the
Biggest absolute change. And which
percentage change. As in each level, it kind of has a jump, like a considerable jump. Because it's not talking about because they're not talking about between commons and elites. They're just saying what monsters have the biggest percentage change in health. So they scale up really strong, maybe.
Maybe, but he did do all this at level 5. Because he didn't want to do it at
maybe that was a
levels.
consideration. Yeah, okay.
Let's just answer the question we want to answer, and then we'll see what the answer is.
Yeah, okay.
But a side note, I want to. I'll ask this after we're done. So you're interpreting it as which creature has the biggest like scalable health.
The biggest percent change. So like, there's one that goes up from level 5 to level 6, just as a whole, or from level 2 to level 3. It's got like a 30% increase in health for each one, and some will have a 15% change. You know, it's kind of like how the Bone Shaper starts at level 6, Drifter starts at, health 6, Drifter starts at 10. Drifter's going to get 1 increase every level, Bone Shaper's going to get 1 every second, so it's got a lower percentage increase.
I'm going to go with Polar Bears again.
Feels like it's something big. I'm going to go with Savas Ice Storm or Savas Lava Flow.
Oh, you have to pick one of them. You can't pick both. Go with the Lava Flow. It's the answer for everything now.
Well, no, because that's the bait. Lava Flow has been there so much that it's definitely the Ice Storm.
That's true. Go with Ice Storm, yeah.
All right. Oh, Snow Imps, Forest Imps both double their health between common and elite. So it's a 100% increase.
Oh, okay. I see the question now. Yeah. It's like, which is the biggest? Yeah, I get it.
Difference between their elite and I see. Yeah,
Not not number, but percentage.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 10 for all those playing at home and for you.
Oh.
I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Ice flow, lava flow.
Lava flow. Which monster has the least variance in health between elite and
Ice
normal?
Wraith.
Yeah, Ice Wraith. That's what that was.
Because I kept wanting to answer Ice Wraith for these. I'm like, hang on, they have the same health.
Yeah,
so that's never gonna work. That was
cool.
very cool.
We got 3 out of 9 or 4 out of 10 if you include my question at the end.
I will include it, and we won't include the other one, the very last one, because we're dumb and we didn't understand it. So
no, we have to. I think that's part of being wrong. Not understanding the question is even worse than not knowing the answer, right?
Yeah. That was a lot of fun, Kelega. Thank you so much for putting in also the work to put that together. But I mean, it's not just you're pulling questions out of your ass like I have to do every week when I'm putting a quiz, but you actually put a lot of time into getting those stats. And I really appreciate it. That was really good fun. And the fact that you could include me in there as well was amazing. So can you do a couple more? That'd be awesome. Love that. And in fact, you could definitely do that kind of format with so many things, Kelega. You can be our fortnightly quiz
master.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to bring him on like a game show host, and I'll get us some buzzers. So yes, if you enjoy that quiz and our quiz discussions, I know some people say that they enjoy it when we do go through that because people can play at home. Feel free to send any other ideas to us, or you just make them for us, like Kelega leading by example. Just do half our work for us. That would be great. I like being put on the spot, and we will wrap it up there for this week. So join us next week, and we are hopefully rejoined by Phil as we attempt to do a scenario involving monsters and doing a road event and outposts, and
goods and services, etc.
Play Frosthaven more. I've been your host, Detty. I've been joined again by Gaz.
And remember, when it comes to rolling terribly, all you need is 3 axe nuts.